So to understand where I am, I think it is important to understand where I've been to answer your question. First, my heroes are my parents, Otis and Rosie Brown. To put this in perspective, I'm first generation full integration. My parents grew up in the segregated South. My father's from Louisiana, my mother's from Alabama. My dad worked in a warehouse, drove trucks, very much blue collar. My mother became an educator, and they're both retired. My passion stems from really seeing my parents do the very best that they can, even though when sometimes your best is not sufficient. And so I understood financial insecurity firsthand. I understood when your parents sign you up for karate and 2 other kids, there was a total of 3, and I never got past white belt, yellow stripe because the money became the barrier. But where I was short on money, we were long on love. And my parents instilled with us strong character. What you start, you must finish. My dad told me to reach for the moon because even if I missed, I would be among the stars. Even though a father who didn't fully even understand, what does that full moon really look like? He told his daughter to reach for it. My mother taught me the power of my faith and taught me, the importance of empathy and kindness. And always looking at what you can do to serve others. And so that is my backdrop. I'm very much attuned to the fact that I am on the shoulders of giants, that it was not a given for me to attend the universities I attended. It's not a given for me to have had a great career and continue to have a phenomenal career in financial services. And I like to say it was the cooks and the janitors and the secretaries that introduced my gender and my melanin to corporate America, that over time allowed me and enabled me to have the position to say that I am a CEO. And so I think that's just so important because that really drives my passion. One was a program called Inroads. So similar to when you think about what you do every single day and help encourage the art of possibility, Inroads was my disruptor. Inroads is a program for talented minorities. It was founded in the 70s that really introduced me and others to corporate America. Why was that a disruptor? First, the power of information. So I've just paid it forward by telling you all about a program called Inroads. The power of information came from Mr. and Ms. Patterson, who told me about this program. Otherwise, I would not have known. The second disruptor was a woman by the name of Valerie Manning. Because in order to get an internship through Inroads, the sponsoring company had to select you. I was on the campus of SMU with other, Inroaders, and we were interviewing. And I was being interviewed by Fannie Mae. A woman, Valerie Manning, had one internship position. Now, for those of you, especially those of you who may have children or those of you who work on staff, when you have one internship, you get no extra points to ask for 2 or 3. The job is just to get the one intern. Valerie Manning interviewed me. She went back to Fannie Mae and she said, I found your intern. Her name is Sarah, but there's this other girl. That is the power of advocacy, even when I didn't understand what advocacy meant. That is the power of people using their position no matter what the title was. She was an HR recruiter. She was not a CEO. She was not a senior executive. But she was compelled to say, but there's this other girl. I say that because I always come from the frame that you rent your title, you own your character. And if Valerie Manning would have said, my job is just to get one intern, I may not be here. And then lastly, I would say in terms of disruption, graduating from the University of Houston, I obtained my MBA from Baylor. I moved up, throughout my career at Fannie Mae. And I remember when I wanted to get closer to the consumer. And as much as I loved the company, we were in the secondary market, which meant we did not interact with consumers. I was on Fannie Mae Business, and the CEO of the mortgage company asked me a question around a dinner table about the size of the table you all are. And I answered it honestly, but clearly. Whatever I said, the CEO then asked someone about me. He then said to me, I hear you're highly regarded at Fannie Mae. What would it take for you to join Chase? Mind you, I've already said in my mind that I wanted to get closer to the consumer. I say these little examples for you because sometimes there are moments where you don't even realize you're shooting your shot, but you're shooting your shot. I also want to remind you, and I love telling this story because it is the power of other people using what they have, which could have just been the power of information. It could have just been the love that my parents provided It could have just been the experiences that they taught me, what to do well and what I didn't want to experience for my own children. It's the power of how you answer a question. And so what I learned along the way is to make sure that whenever you have your moment, even if you don't realize it's a moment, be unapologetically, authentically you, because you never know how that moment can change your trajectory. And make sure that when people take the time to give you information, you actually act upon it and don't just kind of go, oh, thanks, and don't. Because that changed the course of my whole career and ultimately has enabled me to hopefully ultimately impact the world is my goal.